Okay. So, just like last week's episode, there's no theme song, so I just use sounds from the game, which should be nostalgic enough, especially if you played it enough. Uh, this week's destination on gaming memory lane is Defender. If obviously you should know that because that's the title of the episode here. So, Defender. Who remembers playing this game? I remember the first time playing it. It was actually on my PSP because I have like a Midway Arcade's Greatest Hits compilation game. So Defender on the PSP was the first time I played it, and the only time I actually ever played it on the actual arcade cabinet was actually my arcade one up arcade cabinet. So the arcade one up I have is the Mortal Kombat 2 uh, arcade one up, and that's all Midway games. So Mortal Kombat, Defender, Paperboy, is a bunch of them on there. I never actually played the original Defender, but I figure I still give this game its love because this game here it kind of has impacted, and it's been inspired by some of the other space shooters. But this game here was I mean, I already said impactful, but it was also kind of like, I guess, important. You want to call it that? Because it's not the only game that's done this, but it's definitely one of the first games to be considered this for the genre. And I'll get to that later when I go on with my facts here. And as always, my facts come first, and then I'm gonna share my memories, as we always do on Gaming Memory Lane. So, Defender, released in 1981, it was developed and published by Williams Electronics, which later it ends up being owned by Midway, and it was released in Japan by Taito. Eugene Jarvis, the developer who led a whole crew, gained inspiration from Space Invaders. Okay, so like in the Space Invaders episode, and basically all the space shooter games after that, Space Invaders was kind of the I guess the blueprint of like a lot of the space shooters we play today and know today. So obviously you got Space Invaders, and then Asteroids was one of them as well. And with those two came like Galaxian and Galaga and Defender, and so this this game here is just, like I said, it's just another product of what came before it. Defender became one of the most highest grossing games, and also one of the company's best sellers. Actually, it was the best seller for the company, selling over 55,000 units, and gained revenue about $1 billion, billion with a B. And by 2020, it sold about 70,000 units, and that's actual units. Okay, the actual Defender arcade units, like you saw back in the day. Not that's not counting, the arcade one ups and whatnot. That's the legit Defender arcade unit. It was frequently listed as one of Jarvis's best contributions to the industry and one of the most difficult video games of the time. Yeah, no shit. So it is difficult. When I played this game here, when I finally got past the first level, which took me like 12 tries, I got to the second level, and like I shot like two ships. I blew up two ships. The screen flashed, and then like these horde of ships just tackled the shit on me and just destroyed me. And that was it, game over. I'm back at stage one that took me fucking 12 tries to beat. I guess it's safe to say I never beat this game. Stage two, as far as I got. Even as a kid, I didn't get very far. And so, as I said in the beginning, it kind of, with the genrify, it really helped genrify the shoot 'em up genre. So what we know as shoot 'em ups today, as obviously it's just a side scroller or a top down, and you just shoot, 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 missiles, lasers, bullets, whatever. Those are called shoot 'em ups because literally the objective is to shoot them up. That's it. you know. And this was the game that kind of revolutionized that, kicked off that genre, and it's a a well known genre and a big top gaming genre, as we know, a lot of shoot 'em ups today, thanks to games like Defender from back in the day, they kind of kicked off that kind of new subject matter. By the year 2000, just 19 years after it was released, it hit about $1.5 billion worldwide, and it inspired games like Chopper Command, Protector 2, and R-Type. Now I'm a little bit familiar with R-Type, but yeah, so it kind of helped genreify that shoot 'em up category, like I stated earlier. So it but that became other games like, okay, R-Type. We know what R-Type is, but shoot 'em ups became kind of I guess you can call it a well loved genre. I wouldn't say like well loved, like like platformers get a lot of love, fighting games get a lot of love. Of course, you got your sports games, but shoot 'em ups, there's still a lot of games in the shoot 'em ups. So you have R-Type, Super R-Type, Defender, obviously, uh, Ikaruga, Seen More X, like just or Sign More X, I think it is on the PS4. Just to name a few, like it's a genre that I really think of no matter what system I'm playing on how modern or retro it is. When I think about a shoot 'em up, I honestly think just the arcade because that's just kind of like an arcadey game. Like you can't make it. I mean, I guess you can, but graphically, but it can't be like realistic. Like you got a real person. You're in a spaceship in deep space shooting all these other spaceships, these alien spaceships or whatever you want to call them, or enemy spaceships. You get missiles, bombs, lasers, specials, whatever. And Defender kind of just, was first in line with that. And this game here, I couldn't imagine getting the high score, much less beating the game. Because you got to think, like all the other episodes, the arcades, it was all about quarters, coins, tokens, whatever you want to call them, or however you paid for your arcades, whatever. I guess it's different which one you go to. But like this game is tough. It's fast paced. It's it's busy. It can get busy very fast, especially after the first stage. It's games like these, like it was. I mean, they were designed to eat up your money because you don't want to stand there and beat it in 10 seconds. Like, okay, this game was cool, but it's like I'm bored with it already. It's this is how these games made their money by being addicting and being tough, and just you got to get that high score. You got to have that high score, just like any other arcade game back in the day. Dig Dug, Pac Man, Space Invaders, you name it. They needed that reputation. The player needed that bragging rights that they're at the top of the list. Like, hey man, I got the high score defender. My name's been up there for a month. Like, as a gamer back in the day, that was talk cotton. You was talking some shit and you were walking it until somebody beat it and everybody laughed at you. It's just so crazy now. But I remember playing this. I honestly could not get past that second stage. I was lucky enough to get past the first. I rage quit. I said, "Fuck this." You know. Then I was looking up the facts. It said it was considered one of the most difficult games. Like, okay, well, I'm not the only person that got pissed off at this. To the point where it was written in the facts. But a lot of these arcade games are meant to be that difficult. They're meant to get that busy. Like there are some games like Centipede. You know, Obviously the objective is to destroy all the parts of the centipede to move on to the next stage and kill all the centipedes. But it's like if you start with the head and shoot your way down the body, that's fine. But if you shoot anywhere besides the head, the it'll split into another centipede, so it can get busy real fast. A defender is like, okay, after you finally beat these spaceships that come from both directions. Okay, so it's not a top down; it's a side scrolling shooter. You can go left, you can go right, and these ships come from both directions. So they come from behind you, they come from in front of you. You got to maneuver your ship to turn around because you can't shoot backwards. You have to physically turn the spaceship around and shoot the enemy coming at you, and then you get bombs, big enough bombs that'll clear the screen. That's good. That's good help. But if you run out of those bombs and you get a real busy screen, you got to be like super duper fast on that button, shooting those spaceships, man. Because they will, some will shoot you, some will just ram right into you, kamikaze style. Like it'll fucking, stage two just stomped me to the ground within like the first minute of just playing it. I shot two ships and then like 30 of them came at me, blew my shit up. I'm back at stage one, and then I quit playing because there was just no way I was gonna do that. There was something I read while looking up Defender, and someone, I think the longest someone played continuously on one coin was like 21 and a half hours. Who in the right mind would just sit in front, whether you were standing or sitting? You have to sit eventually, you know, to play a game for 21 and a half hours. Okay, so let's just almost 22 hours. Literally a few hours away from a full day. Who and why? That's a record. That's bragging rights. Sure. But there's no reason that, like, how did you feel after? Because, like, there's no save states. There's no way to save. I don't think which I doubt, but I don't think there's a way to pause it. It's an arcade cabinet. You can't just pause it, come back to it. Like, that means you were there. Man, yeah. I think it was a guy. I think his name it started with an M. I can't remember now. I should have written it down. But he obviously had like a piss cup or something. There's no way in hell he just stood there for 21 and a half hours with no food, water, no way to sit down. His back and neck were hurting, dude. Like, there's just no way. I just, when I read that, I was like, wow, that makes me mad. you know, like, sure, when we were all younger, we know, especially as kids, we tend to pull all nighters because, like, oh, cool. I'm up late and I'm up early at the same time, and everyone's still in bed. I've done that. You know, I've done that playing video games. But it has to be a game that can keep you entertained for that long. So I did that playing shit like, you know, uh, Grand Theft Auto, you know, or The Sims or something. Something that's open world, something that's, there's something always going on. Defender, on the other hand, it's not that. It's just like you shoot all the ships, next level. There's, I think there's probably more ships, but they're definitely coming at you faster than they were at the previous level. I just don't understand how can someone just sit there for almost a full day playing on one arcade cabinet with one coin. Like, I don't think anyone was willing to beat that record because, like, that's just it. That's insane. Like, you're destroying your body. It's a video game, dude. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Just focus on getting a high score. Don't focus on flattening your feet because you wanted to, hands all cramped up because you had that joystick in your hand for 22 hours. No, I don't think so. But it's going back to earlier what I said about these games being addicting and them being designed to, eat up your money. Like, it's also business. Like, I mean, these games weren't free to create and produce. Developers and publishers and creators and stuff had to put money into it to create the stuff. So it was a good business plan to make them as addicting as they could be because, like, as you heard, some of the money, like $1 billion, it's $1 billion game. Eugene Jarvis made that money back without a problem. I mean, sure, he didn't get it back within the next day or even a year, but it made that money pretty quick, and it's a payoff. Like, you can't sit here and flag a game for being difficult because that was the way of the world back then in video gaming, and it just had to be like that because, you know, one, if the game is too short or too easy, it's not going to gain popularity. That addictive quality is what causes it to get, quarters, the attention, the lines, the like people lining up to play it, the clout and all that stuff. I mean, Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man, Space Invaders, Galaga, Galaxian, Defender, of course, Paperboy. They were all very addicting, and they made their money. They made their name known. That's the reason why people still talk about these games today and why they're still being brought up on even in compilations, like I said on the PSP, the arcade one ups. Again, it's an arcade game, so I can probably play it on my browser. Go to Google, type in Defender arcade game. You might find a way to play it. Using the arrow keys and the space bar and whatnot. It's it's talked about to this day. There's a lot of games you don't hear about as much. Like Defender is definitely a game you don't hear about as much as you hear about Pac-Man, of course, but you hear about it enough to understand it existed, and it meant well in the video game world, video game industry. But to me, as a gamer and as a collector, it revolutionized a whole new genre in the video game industry, creating the shoot 'em up category. And there's a lot of shoot 'em ups out there that are very fun, very addicting, and some are, collectible. Ikaruga on the GameCube is one of the hardest shoot 'em ups to be created, and I think it's worth some money. It's hard to find that one for a great price. I know that for sure. I've been looking, but there's another one on the PS4 I've been looking for. I think it's called Sign Mora EX. That's that's another one. Side scroller. Ikaruga is a top down shoot 'em up, and so it's a genre that a lot of people tend to because it's a good arcadey type game. I mean, it can be difficult, but also at the same time it should be easy to learn. I mean, just shoot whatever's coming at you, shoot it, right? Especially these arcade games. Any arcade game's a good pick up and play brain rot kind of game. It just took some dedication and stuff for people to figure out the pattern and figure out a way to make it work for you, or to fucking stand in front of it for 22 hours. You know, just a dedication. Like, you go in there with a handful of quarters and spend your Saturday there, or your Friday night, or whatever spare time you had. If you live by a Defender arcade cabinet at like a convenience store or grocery store or something that had one in it, you know. And like I said, I never had this plan. I never played it as a kid, like a child, like I did with Pac-Man and Dig Dug and whatnot. Because I don't remember having this at all. I don't remember seeing a cabinet for this at all. Like I said, the first time I played it was on the PSP, which by then I was an adult already when I had got that copy of the Midway Arcade Treasures or Arcade Classics or whatever it's called for the PSP. And it's got some good ones on there. It's got the classic Mortal Kombats and Paperboy and Arch Rivals and of course Defender. And this was my first time playing Defender at the time. And then it's on the arcade one up cabinet that I have, and I played it on there. I mean, it's fun. It's not very vibrant, because it's considered in space, so it's a black background, and you get these neon colored lines, shapes that resemble, you. I mean, that resemble some other things. The top and bottom of the screen, of course, have the ships and stuff are full solid colors. Not like asteroids where it's just a black background with some outlines on it. There's some detail there, some color, so it's not that bland and repetitive look that asteroids had. I mean, this game was inspired by asteroids, so it kind of took its rudimentary look and kind of gave it a different approach to kind of help revolutionize shoot 'em ups. I mean, I guess you consider asteroids a shoot 'em up because you just shoot asteroids and such. But it was definitely Defender was definitely one of the ones. And R Type, I remember I never played R Type, Super R Type though, on the Super Nintendo, but I never played the original, especially the arcade version. I never did that. No, that's the one I did not come across. But I'm familiar with it enough to put on the list and kind of say, hey, this game here uh, inspired that. But does anybody here ever? No, here it's a two-part question here, I guess. Anybody here ever own this game physically, like on the Atari? I know it's on the Atari. And then who all played this game a lot at the arcade, or at least on the arcade cabinet? It didn't have to be at the arcade. Like every town, every city, everyone within I guess within a precinct or vicinity of an arcade cabinet of some sorts. Let's just say Defender for the sake of the episode. We all know the person, well, the gamer Because if we spent a lot of time there, then we learn who the top guy is. You learn who that is. People probably crowding the screen watching them play, and then you just try to take your shot at it to get that top spot, get the highest score. Uh, but who played this at home? Who played this on their own TV at home? I don't know if Defender got an NES, Nintendo release, like a handful of these arcade games have. I'm not too sure about that. I didn't see that when I was doing my research here, but I know it's on the Atari because that's basically what the Atari was. It was a home video arcade system. You know, whatever popular game, whatever most known popular game was on the arcade was on the Atari. Pac-Man, Dig Dug, Frogger, Asteroids. It just goes on. I mean, of course, they had their own games. Like Pitfall. You know, but it wasn't necessarily an arcade. I don't think Pitfall ever had. I'm not too sure of that. Did Pitfall have an arcade cabinet? I'm not 1,000% sure on that. I don't want to look it up because then my shit'll fuck up. But you know, this is gonna be a short and sweet episode. I wanted to give Defender a little bit of attention because I did play it in the past, and I played it again not too long ago, and same shit happened. Did not get past the second level. I just got my toes wet with the second level and just got my ass ran over, and so I just stopped playing. It's like, yeah, this is why I haven't played this in a while. But you know what? Again, let me pick up another point. Taito in Japan, Taito's made a lot of games, published and released a lot of games. I think they have the Taito's Classic Collection on the PS2. I think there's two, like as in like there's Taito Collection One and then Taito Collection Two on the PlayStation 2, I believe. And of course, they're going to be compilation discs of some of the best and popular games released by Taito. So I don't know if Defender will be on that because it's I don't live in Japan, so I'm not going to have the Japan version of the stuff, and I don't care to collect imports. But I don't have either of the games in my collection. I should probably look into that, see if it's on there. But like I said, it was originally done by Williams Electronics, and now it's Midway. Midway came and took over. Of course, Midway's known for Mortal Kombat. Uh, for years, it was Mortal Kombat, like the very first Mortal Kombat, all the way up to Mortal Kombat on the PS3, I think, and it was also around the PS3 era where they kind of picked up their own studio, NetherRealm Studios. And, Joust, Paperboy, Clax, good puzzle game Clax. Of course, Defender here, Wizard of War, just to name a few. I'm looking at my arcade one up because it's a Midway collection. Arch Rivals was another one too. Arch Rivals is a good arcade basketball game. Might have to do an episode about that too. I remember playing that one a lot. Yeah, it's another short and sweet episode about an arcade game. A lot of these arcade games don't have a whole lot of stuff to offer here, because it's an arcade game. You put a quarter in, you play until you die. It's a shoot 'em. Okay, what's the objective? You're a spaceship. You shoot other spaceships. Don't die. You only get 3 lives. All right, that's it. I mean, practically, but like, what memories do you have? What facts can you bring up about it? What can you talk about it, other than that and some fucking weirdo stat in front of it for 22 hours? That's all you can say. The more a game has to offer, the more I'm gonna be able to talk about. The longer the episode's gonna be, the more you can listen to. But like I said, we're closing up. I still have a handful of arcade games I want to talk about before I move on to even bigger and better titles. And speaking of which, I'm thinking about doing polls. Let you guys decide on which games I should do for both the podcast here and my YouTube. Uh, Shout out to my YouTube, Kevin Gill Gaming. Uh, Getting closer to 100 subscribers, man. I have 96 right now. Uh, Give me 100. Give me to that 100. I need 4 more people to join along the journey of my retro goodness. You know, I'm having a lot of fun over there on YouTube doing Let's Plays and collection videos and whatnot. It's just a visual version of Memory Lane. And also, you may be listening to this on YouTube because my podcast is on YouTube. as well as Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Audible, iHeart. Shout out to the podcast, man. And I'm having fun doing this too. Um, well over 200 downloads. That's awesome. You know, Shout out to all you people who have as fun listening to my mediocre videos as I do, or videos. These aren't even videos. Let me redo that. Shout out to all the people who have as much fun listening to my episodes as I do making them. Shout out to all the fans of mine, all 96 of you, who enjoy my mediocre YouTube videos. Those are real fun to make. Getting ready to wrap up wrap up Batman Arkham Asylum. Getting real close to doing the end of that. But I'm gonna do polls, man. Like I said, I'm gonna do polls. I'm gonna put them everywhere on my socials. So Facebook and Instagram, Kevin Gill Gaming, and my Reddit. I don't remember if I plugged a Reddit before because I've just been working on it, but I have a Reddit now. So Reddit r/gaming memory lane, and you'll see my profile picture. All my sources have the same profile picture, so you know at the right place. As of right now, I've been busy just uploading all the episodes to the podcast, YouTube playlists, and some other stuff. But I'm gonna do polls, man. I want you guys to vote on like what type of videos you want to see next. I did a poll on my YouTube. Nobody voted on it, so it's been sitting there for a few days with no votes. But go vote on it. Like what after I finish up Batman Arkham Asylum, like what game should I play next? Should I play something modern? Should I do another retro game? What kind of game should I play? I don't know, man. You tell me. All right, y'all. Until next week, I'm out.